Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. Today I'm going to be presenting to you my top 5 tiny tricks to improve your game in Age of Empires 2. Pro players will use these tips here and there and can help gain a small advantage over their opponents and win games consistently. None of these tricks are going to be coming up in 100% of your games, but it's important to be ready so when they do come up, we're able to take advantage of them and gain a small advantage ourselves. I'd be really surprised if you knew every single one of the tricks I'm about to present, but I will say you're going to probably know one or two of them, but if you do know all of them, definitely let me know in the comments that you are someone that knows their stuff. Without further ado, let's hop right in and take a look at the top 5 list. Starting off at number 5, we've got a rather obvious one, but I still wanted to mention it for the people that might not know about it or for the new players out there. So a farm can actually be used as a resource drop-off site. What does that mean? Basically, if you have 10 wood on a villager and you want to switch them to a farm, you don't need to drop off the 10 wood at a town center or at a lumber camp and then make the farm. You can just make the farm right away. When the farm gets finished building, the 10 wood will immediately go to your stockpile, so you're not wasting any resources. The reason why this is really important is because if you had the same scenario where you had 10 wood on a villager and you wanted to task him to sheep, if you just right click the sheep and he goes ahead and takes it, your 10 wood will be lost. It's not going to go to your stockpile. So the farm is very similar to a mining camp, a lumber camp, and a mill in that it drops off all the resources that you have collected with those villagers, and then the villager can be tasked to another resource. So when moving villagers around your base, you can just simply drop a farm with wood villagers and easily transition your economy to suit a transition that you want to make. Moving on to number 4, this is another one that's pretty popular, but I still want to mention it because it's quite cool. You can de-aggro a boar by simply building something on top of the boar as it's chasing you. This is really important when luring a boar or a rhino or an elephant from a long distance and you might not have loom. Sometimes the boar catches up to us and we're about to die, and the best thing you can do is just slap a house on top of the boar foundation and spam click that house. If done successfully, the boar will de-aggro and walk back to its original location. You can then hit the boar again as it's a good distance away from you, so it can chase you again, but this time it's going to be further away from you so it doesn't get that last hit and kill your villager. This is really important, especially if you're getting it lamed in a real game. If you're trying to block the boar or your villager with a scout, you can easily spam a foundation on the boar and get your villager out of there in safety. This is a really important trick, and I find myself using this pretty much every day, pretty much like once or twice every five games. Next up, we've got number 3. It's a tip that will help you against tower rushers primarily, and it's the idea that you can hit the corner of buildings even if they're walled in at all sides. To wall in a building, you actually have to make a palisade wall around the entirety of the foundation. A lot of people would just make 4 palisades around a tower, one at each horizontal side, but there is a little space in between those palisade walls on the corners of the building that a villager can slip in and attack that building. This is also true not only for a villager, but a knight, a militia, and even a battering ram. So this tip will help both tower rushers and defenders. If you're a tower rusher and you want to wall in your tower, make a palisade wall or a stone wall around the entirety of the tower and not just the 4 horizontal sides. And then for the defender, if you see your opponent making this mistake, you can punish him by just ramming down his tower or sending a couple of villagers to take it out slowly once he's not defending it anymore. Moving on to number 2, we've got the best defense to a ram rush when you've got a castle. If your opponent is trying to ram down your castle and you don't have an infantry unique unit or a cavalry unique unit that can take out the rams, like for example if you have a Teutonic Knight, making a couple of those can deal with the rams no problem. But let's say for example you've got the longbowmen. If you make a few longbowmen, it's not going to do anything to the rams and you could risk losing your castle. Instead, what you could do with any civilization is make petards from that castle. A petard will have an attack bonus against the ram, so 2 petards is enough to kill a ram. Also, petards have a little bit of splash damage, so if you hit the middle ram and there's 3 of them, you can do a little bit of damage to the ones on the outside as well. So a few petards combined with some villagers that can repair and take down the rams can easily protect you from like a 5 or 10 ram rush if you just prepare a little bit in advance and start making a couple of petards as soon as you see the rams. This is a really useful tip because not always will you have a unique unit or army around to defend your castle, but you're always going to have petards around to help your castle. And so if you learn this once today, you're going to remember it for the rest of your life and it's going to come up when you need it the most. Alright, before I show you guys number 1, I'm going to go ahead and talk about a quick honorable mention that you might actually be curious about if you're a Sicilian player. Basically, the Tech First Crusade, can get you over 200 pop. Now, First Crusade creates sergeants from all of your town centers up to 35, and you might be thinking that's a good way to push back your opponents and gain an advantage and a little bit of a power spike, but we can use this to create a mega power spike by going up to 200 pop with a big army and a good economy behind it, and then only after that do we get First Crusade, so we can attack our opponent with 235 pop, and that is quite a hard army to stop for sure, and especially with the economy behind it that we can sustain after the initial fight. I didn't want to put this tip any higher on my list. I left it as an honorable mention because not everyone plays Sicilians and a lot of people might have already known this. But anyways, on to the number 1 trick, which a lot of you guys probably don't know about. Alright, so number 1 is a trick that is only available recently because they allowed us to drop food at the dock, and only specifically shorefish at the dock with villagers. However, as we all know, we always look for workarounds, trying to break the rules and gain a small advantage, and for that reason we've discovered that if you use a villager and you hunt a deer or a boar or any sheep, a farm, any kind of food source available, you can then right click a shorefish or even a deep sea fish. Even if the villager can't reach it, you just have to right click it so the villager becomes a fisherman, and then you can drop off all the food you had gathered from that other food source into the dock. So I can literally take a deer, get 35 food, right click a deep sea fish that I can't even take with the villager, and then click the dock and get the 35 food, and then I can go right back to the deer. It's a little bit micro intensive, so you have to kind of babysit your villagers a little bit, but it could come up especially on maps like Nomad. After you get that initial shorefish in your dock, you can just gather some deer and keep that villager working efficiently. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Nice little top 5 video. Always seems to do well for the audience on YouTube. Hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a like if you did, and comment something down below if you want to help the algorithm. Take care, guys, and I'll see you next time. Peace.